So the area near the fire is a fantastic place to do some really intense cooking. As you saw, the pizzas can be a little sensitive when you get them close to the fire, so you really have to watch them. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this nice cast iron fajita skillet warmed up, get it up to about 600 degrees, and going to be cooking a ribeye on that. You could have a stack of those in the oven at all times, staying warm. If you were doing a lot of steaks in here, steaks, burgers, seafood, racks of lamb, you name it, the cast iron or the aluminum sizzle platters are fantastic for this application. All right, so that pan has gotten nice and hot back there. I really like using some tongs to move pans around in this oven. The longer the better, but you don't have to get your hand too far back in there. Now, a lot of steaks you could probably trust to release themselves, but because this is pretty clean cast iron, I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of oil down. And I'm going to pop this nice little ribeye in place. That is the sound you're looking for. Now I'm going to go ahead and get ahead on this fat side. I'm going to turn that fat side so it's facing the fire and really start getting some color on that as well. Slide it on back into place. You have 2 or 3 of these. You can do these without handles. That's why the sizzle platters are also really nice, because they typically don't have a handle, so that's not getting in your way, taking up space in the oven. And this is going to be about a 6 or 7 minute to medium rare steak. This zone right near the flame isn't always that useful for pizza, so especially when you have the flame up and you're doing a couple entrees like this. So we've got the steak going. I'm going to go ahead and get this cedar plank salmon in there as well. Along with the salmon, something we found that cooks just beautifully on cedar is some asparagus, and it really goes well with the salmon. I'm going to move this down just a little bit so I have a little more room for my asparagus. Lay that on there however it's going to stay. Pile it up a little bit. You can always rotate it, and then you've got a variety of doneness as well. You've got some that have a little more color than others. I'm going to take this right in close as well. Now that leaves me room away from the flame in this oven. I could be doing a couple of small pizzas. I'm going to go ahead and load a larger pizza back in there and just cook it the whole time back from the flame. You don't have to rotate the pizza toward the flame if you're just doing a variety of items in the oven, where you always need that near fire zone for some entrees and apps, and even maybe possibly some flaming desserts. And then you can keep the cooler, more temperate zone of the oven for your pizzas and your flatbreads and your longer cooking items. This is a nice big 16-inch pie. Go ahead and give that its due. Now the tongs are nice, but when you've got a lot going on in the oven, the utility peel is your best buddy. You can get in there, you don't have to time it, just grab what you need to. Now you see that steak's cooking on top just from the heat of the oven, but not a lot going on inside yet. It still has some time to go, but man, is that looking good where it's contacting the pan. So we're just going to go right back in with it. Give it another 4 minutes or so. That'll be a beautiful medium rare. You can see that salmon starting to cook and curl up a little bit. So even though the pizza is far back in the oven, it still needs a turn. You can see here that it's really starting to brown up beautifully. The side facing the doorway needs a little more color, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a nice little spin so it's getting some color on the sides that haven't gotten it yet. There's still a lot of heat bouncing off the walls as well, so those sides where it was initially close to the walls, those are not going to take as long to brown when you point them toward the fire. A good strategy for pizza in these ovens is to put the pie in and let it sit there until it's telling you it needs to be turned. That's when it really starts moving. That's when you're going to have to start turning it more frequently. As it gets closer, it's already nice and warm, so it's just ready to toast up when it's facing that radiant flame. Okay, so we don't want to overcook salmon, that's for sure. And the asparagus really doesn't take long to cook either. Now, I've been cooking it primarily with the far side facing the flame, so I am going to give it one spin and give it just a little bit of time the other way. See, this plank is starting to catch fire. It's really producing a lot of nice smoke. That smoke goes fantastic with the cedar and the asparagus. Little tarragon wouldn't hurt. Even the smoke from some herbs that have started to go bad, ones you wouldn't actually use in a dish, you could certainly use for a nice little smoke on an entree. One final turn, and this pie, it needs about 15 more seconds, and that is a thing of beauty. It's heavy, take your time. All that steak needs now is a good rest, about 5 minutes. We're gonna have a beautiful medium rare. Okay, this salmon is ready to pull. You can see, you can serve it right on this plank if you let it stop smoking. That's a beautiful way to serve this dish. When you roast the asparagus, it gets so nice and bright on the inside. You don't want to roast it until it starts to go dull again. You want to catch it while it still has a nice bite to it and a beautiful brightness. And of course, don't forget about your pizza. So this ribeye was tied to keep it all together, so it's coming apart a little bit, but it's rested for about 5 minutes after the oven cook. You can tell, looking at this piece, that we have a nice doneness. It's beautiful. We got to medium on that one. A minute less would have been a medium rare. That's a beauty. So this salmon is nicely cooked. Here in the Northwest, we tend to eat our salmon a little more on the medium side, but nice and juicy. This one, I would say we got a little bit past medium, but still nice and juicy. Really picked up, you can just smell the cedar. It's gorgeous. The asparagus still has a nice bit of bite to it. You can pierce it easily with a fork, but it does provide a little bit of resistance. Picked up a beautiful cedar flavor.